What are your thoughts on 2021? Was it a good year?
I definitely think it was a great year for adoption and for mainstream attention. I mean, the rise of NFTs was definitely something really fascinating to see, and I think it's brought a lot of people into the crypto space that were not would not have gone into it before. And I think things like well, at least to me, like blockchains are about creating these innovative new ways to organize society, and in some ways, to me, like what's happening with artists being able to sell NFTs really is a realization of that spirit, because like we actually are giving people who are creating art new business models. We're giving the creators of this thing that's very valuable, but that often has a hard time getting business models, a new way to actually get funding. So that's something that's been very interesting to and exciting for me. The rise of DAOs is definitely also interesting and exciting. We've been seeing more and more DAOs that are actually doing lots of interesting things, experimenting with different governance algorithms, projects like CityDAO that are actually trying to do things in the physical world. So that has all been fun. The progress that we have seen in layer 2 scaling, I think, has been really amazing. Like, we've actually, I think, over the course of this year, really seen layer 2s go from theory to practice. At the beginning of this year, there were only like one or two layer 2s on mainnet, and they either only pretty much all only supported a couple of applications. And now we have this thriving ecosystem, and people are really experiencing what a layer 2 Ethereum looks like firsthand. So lots of progress on adoption, lots of progress on tech.
What were some of the main accomplishments, milestones? I know you mentioned layer two. That's probably chief among them. Are there any others at the protocol level?
Yeah, so I think if we focus on layer 1, some of the big things are, one is that the beacon chain just proved itself. It's turned from being this very early thing into an increasingly mature ecosystem. It also had its first hard fork, the Altair hard fork, which of course added the kind of basic scaffolding that we need to have light client support, and it was also just the first ever beacon chain hard fork, which is an important trial run for the merge. So the next beacon chain hard fork, and most likely the next execution chain hard fork, will actually be the merge. So that's exciting. Speaking of the merge, we also have testnets for the merge now. The Kintsugi testnet launched a couple of weeks ago. And of course, the Kintsugi testnet was not even the first testnet of the merge. There were a couple of other smaller ones that have been running for a couple of months, but Kintsugi is one that is much bigger than before, many more participants than before, more extensive than before. Anyone could go and participate, and I even got some Kintsugi ETH from the Kintsugi faucet a couple of weeks ago. So that has also been, I think, a lot of great progress. A lot of just interesting infrastructure projects that have been coming of age. So Proof of Humanity has matured a lot, and it's been seeing a lot of usage. Sign in with Ethereum has been seeing a lot of adoption, and that just like went from, I think, an idea that a few people were thinking about to something that lots of people are excited about starting to adopt and use over the last few months. What cross layer 2 bridging, still in its infancy, but much better than what it was a year ago, which is basically not existing at all. But account abstraction, there are testnet versions of ERC 4337. This is something that hasn't really gotten into the public discourse yet, but it's moving forward quietly. A lot of progress there. So lots of small things, lots of progress on the various spec items that haven't been released yet, but that we're going to talk about through the rest of this episode probably. Just like a whole bunch of like really meaningful progress on I think pretty much all of the big things that we care about. I think a lot of people do care about decentralization, but like they're not going to take the decentralization if the decentralization costs $8 a transaction. Yeah, I mean, I think in order for blockchains to be able to actually be something that like people are going to adopt for just mainstream applications. Like it has to be, it has to be cheap, and it has to be not just cheap by the standards of whales who bought crypto in 2014. It has to be cheap by the standards of people who are coming into the system today and who are going to be putting, you know, $20 or $40 into crypto if they put in anything at all, right? And so Ethereum yes, Ethereum today is not like the layer 1 is not a system that's ready for like direct mass adoption by users. But that's exactly why we've been like harping the drum of scalability and layer 2s and sharding and all of these things pretty like since 2014, right? Like the Ethereum's roadmap, like, and kind of vision and strategy is like exactly the same as it was back in 2017 when I talked about the need for fees to be low. You know, the layer 2s are coming close to providing that, right? Like Loopring has been around for a year, and it provides you know, transaction fees that are not quite 5 cents, but they tend to be like around 15 cents or so today. And of course, once sharding comes along, then like it will be much less than 5 cents again. So there's like the layer 2 ecosystem is definitely, together with layer 1 sharding, is completely on the way to like bringing us back to the really low fees that we had back in 2014 and 15, and that allowed so much amazing experimentation early on to start happening. But you know, to get there, we do need to actually solve all of these hard technical problems.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Tell us about the merge.
Sure. So the merge is the same thing that the merge has always been. It's the full transition away from proof of work to proof of stake. So there has actually been there's a lot of stuff that has already been done for proof of stake that's in the kind of what's already behind us column to the left. So the beacon chain already exists. There's already been a warm-up fork. Proof of stake already has light client friendliness. But what's left to actually get to the merge, right? So the most recent thing that was finished is the full specification of the merge process. So the specification, not just of what post-merge Ethereum looks like, but even of how the transition process works. So how the process works of like actually changing from one to the other, what is the final proof of work block going to be, how is the first proof of stake execution block going to point to that proof of work block, what happens during edge cases, like what if the chain reorgs right in the middle of that. So all of that, that's the spec. So this exists. So that's what these testnets have been running. That's what Kiyosaki has been running. So full merge specification, test networks in progress, fork choice improvements. So basically there just have been a few bugs that have been discovered in the fork choice rule. This is the function that nodes use to determine like which block is the head block if there are multiple competing blocks based on all of the votes that all the different validators have made. And this is just like adding some armor to make it more robust against certain kinds of attacks. So once that's done, then the merge can happen, right? And once the merge happens, then, you know, no more proof of work, right? And so then that's the merge. After the merge, we have the post-merge hard fork. The most important feature of the post-merge hard fork is just enabling withdrawals, right? So the merge itself, just to keep it simple, does not enable withdrawals. But the post-merge hard fork, which there is a spec for enabling withdrawals, but this is something that will actually needs to be done a little bit later.
Just to be clear, Vitalik, this is about withdrawals for beacon chain ether depositors and validators. So
Correct.
This isn't about tokens or anything else, right?
Exactly. So if you threw your 32 ETH in and you're a validator, then once the post-merge hard fork happens, you will be able to withdraw the ETH and the rewards and bring it back into the execution layer. And I definitely think that maximalism is something that's very unhealthy. And like there definitely are tendencies, I think, among some people in even the Ethereum community to try to kind of brand everything outside of the Ethereum ecosystem as being boring and illegitimate, which like I don't think is true. Like I think, there's real fun, like interesting stuff happening in Zcash lands. There's real interesting stuff happening in like say Tezos. There's one of the cities that I talked about in my Crypto Cities article, they're doing everything on Tezos. So they're like, I do think that, there are honorable communities that are not just like taking the quick buck and that actually do care about decentralization. But at the same time, right, like it's also like there's definitely a lot of people that like basically just use the word Ethereum maxi to just refer to someone who supports Ethereum, which is just crazy, right? Like there's like this idea that like decentralization is really important, for example, right? And I think Ethereum is like one of the really valuable and important things about the Ethereum community is that it does have a core that strongly believes in decentralization. It's willing to continue fighting for it. It's willing to like even delegitimize and stop publicly supporting applications that kind of betray those principles. Yeah, whereas, on a lot of other ecosystems, like you have entire dApps that are like closed source and people just like barely blink an eye about it. So that's the, so I think, I guess my view there is somewhere in the middle. Like, I think it's definitely important to like also have our eyes open and look at what's going on in all of these other ecosystems. But at the same time, like we do have to remember that a lot of people do like support Ethereum not just because of some kind of like bias of like they got their bags in earlier, because like ultimately like if you have your bags in Ethereum but you decide Ethereum is worse, then you can just move all your bags to something else. It's a free market. But I think people do believe that decentralization is valuable and important, and they see the Ethereum community as being a community that is willing to actually work hard and take all of the necessary steps to actually build the future where we have scalability and decentralization at the same time. And that's, I think, something that's really important to keep.
How close are you to being a decentralization maximalist? Does that describe your philosophy on things, Vitalik?
I would not call myself in anything maximalist, but I definitely think that decentralization is extremely important. It's like ultimately decentralization is what this space is about, right? And then, like once you start compromising on that, then there does come a point where you just have to ask, well, like what is even the difference between what's being built here and centralized systems? Like I think the more that we can actually get to like genuine decentralization and an ecosystem where, in order to make changes to the protocol, like it actually needs to have buy-in, not just from a couple of protocol elites, but from the entire user community. Like, I think that's a really important and beautiful thing. And it's also an important and beautiful thing for, ETH, the asset, to maintain its credibility. It's an important thing for a lot of the applications on Ethereum to maintain their credibility. And it's something that we need to fight for and support.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is gunr and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, You won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.